If you're worried about the stretch marks, have an abortion. If you messed around and got pregnant and you're not married, or something, have an abortion. And what's happened, and if you listen to these women, there's none of them have anything to say about the kids whose lives were taken by their own mother. There have been other women. Remember that one woman years ago who killed her 5 children by drowning them in the bathtub? She chased them around the house and drowned them in the bathtub. There weren't women defending her. There's been a change. The Taylor Swift effect. And, but because of the abortion cult of the left, okay, the abortion cult of the left have dehumanized children and put mothers first over their children for so long. That's just how they are now. I mean, look, the governor of Massachusetts signed the law the other day allowing abortion like right up till birth in the state of Massachusetts. I mean, this is how the way that liberal women think about babies is the same way that the Nazis felt about Jews. They dehumanized the Jews. They dehumanized the babies. It's very similar. It is very similar. You can't make this stuff up. And I must say, it's going to get worse because this is, and she very well could be found not guilty and go to a mental institution. And when people go to mental institutions, they get out. John Hinckley shot President Reagan, and he's a free man. The left don't put any value on life. This isn't just a murder, it's a 3-time murder. Scott Peterson killed his wife Lacey and their child Connor that she was carrying in her womb. He's doing life in California. Well, he had some stress going on in his life. He had this girlfriend on the side and he's working and all this stuff. It was a lot for him to handle. And the stress of Lacey being pregnant, it was too much. So he killed her and their baby, Connor. No one in their right mind would make a case like that. What is it with this woman who killed her children? All right, here's more. Thank you. This is crazy. They're yelling, thank you. What are they thanking her for? What are they thanking her for? Yeah, Andrea Yates was the woman who killed her 5 children in the bathtub. And Chicks on the Right made a good point today, talking about Lindsay Clancy in this case, making a very big comparison here, and I thought this was so spot on, between liberal women's cult here with Lindsay Clancy in the way that they treated the widow of the great Charlie Kirk. Listen to this.
One of these ladies strangled her 3 young children. The other watched her husband get shot right in front of her for speaking the truth. Guess which one the left supports and which one they demonize. Lindsay Clancy is not a victim.
No.
People are seriously effing twisted, but not agree with her. Freaking crazy. I absolutely believe she did this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's already admitted.
Yeah, she's confessed. Yeah, by the way, she has confessed. At least OJ was denying it, and they were arguing, they were had to prove it. But she's confessed to killing her 3 children.
She's admitted it, and that's not what her lawyers are trying to get her out of. They're trying to say, well, it wasn't premeditated. She's crazy, she was psychotic at the time, which I also believe. You can believe both things at once, and I also believe that her husband seemed kind of like a jerk. But I don't think he did this. I think she did it.
Well, we know the husband didn't do it because they have geolocation and timelines and phone records, and she was on the phone with her husband when he was out, was it at a drugstore? While she was killing the kids, she was on the phone with her husband. She was multitasking. She was on the phone with the husband and killing the kids at the same time.
And then she hurled herself out of a window, and now she's paralyzed. She was on 3 benzodiazepines, 2 antipsychotics, 5 different
Absolutely.
and that she needs,
Yeah,
there needs to be consequences.
exactly.
There needs to be justice beyond the fact that she has harmed herself irreparably. I'm sorry, but like all of that can be true at the same time, and that is what like liberal women are failing to realize. It's not just liberal women; it's just women in general. Melissa on Twitter said, "Feminists, hormones after birth make us murderous, and we can't help it." Also, feminists, if women ruled the world, there'd be no wars, and there would be world peace.
Yeah.
The people like the Lisa Rinnas of the world who are getting online running their mouths about how women are incapable of doing the things that she did. Of course she's capable of doing it.
Yeah, she did it. And you know, the thing is, they've taken this abortion cult to such a level that it's a woman's right to choose now till what age? 10, 12, 15, 18? When does a woman's right to choose end with these women? Now, if you have some thoughts on this, you're very much welcome to call in. The number's toll free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, there's a lot more to cover. All right? My name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. We'll be right back.
On the line, we have Bruce. Bruce is a client of Jupiter Joe Thomas. You heard me talking with Joe Thomas about annuities and what a great deal they are. He went in with his wife, and now he's a client. Hey, Bruce, how you doing? I'm doing good, Brian. So tell me about your experience with Jupiter Joe Thomas. Fine, gentlemen. We sat down with Joe, and we explained everything to him, and he wrote all the solution, and he worked everything out great. The cool thing about annuities is your money's never at risk. You're guaranteed a revenue stream for the rest of your life, but there's a bonus, really a signing bonus, where you can make a boatload of money before you even leave Joe Thomas's office. Can we talk a little bit about that, Bruce? Well, that's where I was surprised. We sat down, talked about the bonus. My arrangement was 10%, but even another one that's bigger. That's amazing. So you made 10% on your money before you even got back to your car. Yeah, it was more than that. It was great. So guys, do what Bruce did. Give Jupiter Joe Thomas a call. You can set up a free consultation either on the phone or in the office, and Joe Thomas will put together a custom proposal just for you. His number is 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. And online at jupiterjoe.com. All right, Bruce, thanks so much. All right, thank you, Brian. Some crimes make headlines. Others leave behind questions that take years to answer. Crime Explained on YouTube takes you inside real cases with clear factual storytelling. On Crime Explained, there's no hype, no filler, just the facts. From shocking murders and mysterious disappearances to body cam footage, cold cases, criminal psychology, investigations, and courtroom verdicts. Crime Explained on YouTube takes you step by step through what happened, what investigators uncovered, and how each of those cases unfolded. Many cases are ripped right from the headlines, like the Luigi Maggione trial, along with new true crime documentaries and case breakdowns. If you're fascinated by true crime and want responsible storytelling focused on real cases, real facts, and clear explanations, subscribe to Crime Explained on YouTube. Search Crime Explained 2026. That's Crime Explained 2026 on YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a case. Crime Explained. Real cases, facts explained.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, and welcome. Yeah, so talking about these lunatic women who are defending this murderer of her own children, Lindsay Clancy, and there's a lot of these are the children right there. I mean, my goodness, breaks your heart. They're babies. They're all babies. And you see this lunatic. She tried to take her own life, and now she's in a wheelchair. And she does look nuts. I will give you that. She does look crazy, and she probably is, like all people who murder. So who are these women that are defending her? Look at this one. Now, she doesn't, this girl here, she doesn't have her pink shirt on, but she has some strong opinions.
I'm being totally serious here.
There you go. Okay, there's a Lindsay Clancy supporter. Yeah, little man hatred there going on. Oh my goodness.
Anyway, my point is, how many other New England girlies would like to take the day off from work and drive up to the courthouse to show our support and advocacy for Lindsay Clancy? We ride at dawn. Seriously, like, let me know if you're down for that.
I have decided I'm going to send Lindsay a letter of encouragement. Of course, I'm not going to mention anything about her Jesus or anything like that, but I did want to write to her and tell her that there are so many women that are out here praying for her.
Praying for the woman who murdered these 3 beautiful babies right there.
I need some word of encouragement might bring a smile.
What are you encouraging? Her to get away with killing her babies?
I don't know if you're able to receive any mail or not, but at least I'm going to try.
Do you guys think that Lindsay Clancy is gonna know about us? Like that we're all here, like standing behind her? Like, is she gonna ever find out about us? Like her little army?
Oh my.
Like, do you think we'll ever?
Oh, you hear? This is a cat lady. I heard the cat. I have cats. I love cats. My wife and I love cats, but she's all alone with just a cat. This woman. Hear it?
People ever become her friends? Like, will she talk to us? Is she gonna thank us? Like,
You know, this woman here. You know, cats. You know cats don't meow at each other. They only meow at people when they want something. So you know, stop making the TikToks and defending child killers and go feed your cat, lady.
I don't think she'll ever know, like, what happened and how, like, we rallied. She has, like, this is more supportive than I've ever had any friends be in my life. Sorry, guys. But
Is that an engagement ring on her finger? Let me tell you, I hope her fiance sees that and breaks off the engagement. You do not want to marry this girl and have children with her, okay? It would not be safe for your children. I'm sorry. You know, there's always been crazy people and women who are sympathetic to killers. Usually it's men, right? You know, when you see these guys in prison, they all have wives, right, and all that stuff. That are groupies that marry them after they're in prison. You see this all the time. The Luigi girls, you see this all the time. But this is a woman, and somehow this has become some feminist battle cry. Here's more of them, all in pink. They must be out of pink shirts in the whole New England area. I mean, they got pink shirts, pink cups, pink shoelaces. The pink hats are gone, thankfully so. It's like a party. Or a freak show.
They have merch.
And they're sitting around there laughing and everything else. You know, there's some things that when you look, because this is in New England. So when I see these women that are so adamant that Lindsay Clancy did the right thing, and I'm trying to figure out what it is and what's behind it. What percentage of them do you think have had abortions? And because of the area that it's in, I bet you a high percentage. And 80% or more maybe. And a lot of times, liberal women who have abortions, they channel the guilt they have inside into becoming advocates for this culture of death on the left. And I bet you 80%, maybe even more, of the women that are out there at the courthouse every day are women who have had abortions. I mean, you could, as a parent, to defend somebody who murdered their own children, you have to really be disassociated with the whole concept of motherhood and children or parents and children. you have to be on a whole nother psycho level.
So I keep seeing people talk about the Lindsay Clancy case, and a bunch of conservatives are asking themselves, like, how did we get here as a society where a huge number of women are defending Lindsay Clancy, who murdered 3 of her children by strangling them to death? Like, what is wrong with the women right now? And I'll tell you how we got here. It's because over 25% of women in America today have done exactly what Lindsay has done. They did the exact same thing. They murdered their children, right? They murdered their helpless, innocent children, all because they didn't want them. They were in the way. And so they, of course, they empathize with her. Of course, they're trying to cover up their own guilt for what they did by justifying what another woman did when she snubbed out her own children.
Wow.
The natural way that you try to cope with sin, right? If you have a problem with drinking, you surround yourself with other people who drink a lot. If you have a problem with cursing, you surround yourself with people who curse a lot. If you have a problem with murder, if you murdered your child and haven't repented for it, then you justify other people who murder their children. And you all can sit around and ignore the feeling of being a monster because, well, we all did it, right? So it's not that bad. That's what's at play right now. That is what's happening. Is we have a bunch of women who actually have murdered their own children, and so when they see another woman who murdered their own children, they empathize with her, they sympathize with her, and they justify it because, well, she had a reason, right? That's what's happening right now, and our nation desperately needs to repent of our child
Yeah.
sacrifice, whether it's children in the womb or children outside of the womb. It's a problem, and it is definitely impacting society in serious ways that we've been ignoring for a long time, and now it's just become like so in our face that we can't ignore it anymore, and people are asking how we got here. Child sacrifice. That's how we got here. We need to abolish it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the wise words, you know, and I did not realize that was the next clip I was going to play after what I had said. I mean, but that's the natural way, you know, the natural instinct of a parent. That was a very wise woman there. The natural instinct of a parent is to throw yourself in front of an oncoming train or bus to save the life of your child. Not kill your 3 children and then say, poor me, right? Now, there's another factor that's a little strange. I'm not too sure about this one, but there's some of these guys out there. This guy, he's got not only does this guy have a pink shirt on, he's got a pink microphone, and very strange. And he's interviewing some of these child killer defenders from their death cult.
To the people that are upset and believe that she killed her 3 children and she should be convicted, what would be your message to them?
I'm so grateful for you that you never experienced even remotely what women experience in postpartum.
Oh, okay. So is this woman saying that she's experienced feelings of wanting to kill her own kids? What does that mean?
To the people that are upset and believe that she killed her 3 children and she should be convicted, what would be your message to them?
I'm so grateful for you that you never experienced even remotely what women experience in postpartum. Yeah. And admittedly, she did admit to killing them.
Yeah.
But the woman you see now is completely different from the woman who did that to her kids. And I think it's really difficult for people to hold two truths that may seem opposite simultaneously. She can be a wonderful, loving mother, and she did this horrible thing that she was so sick. I mean, I've seen the testimony every day. I can see how devastated she is, and I believe her.
Are you kidding? I haven't seen any emotion in this woman.
Believe her.
Oh my goodness. I you know, how many of these women are there out there in our society? I don't know. And this is the video that really just freaked me out today. This is Lindsay Clancy when she was coming to court. And this is the one when I saw this one. I said, I gotta talk about this. Look at this. Here she is on her way to the courthouse from the jailhouse. Look at this. I think it's a rock star. It's Taylor Swift in the van or something, you know. Oh. You know, and they try to say that MAGA is a cult. I don't think so. I don't think so. Here's your real cult. Okay. Now this this whole thing of blaming pharmaceuticals and doctors, no, none of that's responsible. None of that is responsible. There's no medication they give you that turns on a switch that says you can kill your kids. Okay. It's just like alcohol. People, they go out and they drink, right? And then they drive and get in a car and kill people. You don't blame the alcohol company. You don't blame the bar. You don't blame whoever made the beer or the whiskey. You blame the person behind the wheel, and they're the ones that go to prison for vehicular manslaughter. You don't say, well, the bartender gave them these drinks and they're intoxicated, so they don't go to prison. You don't get free passes. If you start giving women free passes for killing 3 children, their own children, for postpartum depression, you're going to find an increase in postpartum depression rates like you've never seen, because all women are going to claim to have it. In fact, there are women that are they're telling us all these medications she was on. There will be women who go, if she gets away with this, if Lindsay Clancy gets away with this, there are women who will go out and if they have to doctor shop, they'll doctor shop. They'll go out and get those medications so that they can come home and do crimes and have an excuse. All right, now I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, there's a lot more to cover. All right, don't go anywhere.
How would you like to launch your very own cleaning business and start looking for your first paying client in just 24 hours? You can do it. You just need the right help and guidance. And that's what you will find in First Client in 24 Hours, the $10,000 a month cleaning business system. This must-read, beginner-friendly guide eliminates all the guesswork and gives you a step-by-step plan for building a profitable residential cleaning service, even if you have no business experience, no employees, and less than $75 for supplies. You'll receive the complete guide, a profitable quote calculator, client communication scripts, marketing templates you can edit, a cleaning checklist, a service agreement, and a walkthrough, as well as pricing workbook. There's no expensive website, no commercial equipment, no complicated business plan. Just a simple system designed to help you find local customers, price your services confidently, and build towards consistent monthly income. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Your first client could be closer than you think. Order First Client in 24 Hours, the $10,000 a month cleaning business system right now. The link to purchase the book is in the description of this episode. Go to the description and click the link right now. First Client in 24 Hours, the $10,000 a month cleaning business system. The link is in the description. Click it right now. Birthdays are exciting. The presents, the games, the friends, the cake. But for one very excited 6-year-old, there's just one problem. He has to wait. In the book, Do I Have to Wait on My Birthday? A Timmy story from author Justin DeSantos. Timmy is ready to celebrate his big day because he wants everything to happen right now. But when his excitement turns into impatience, one funny mishap leads to another. Before long, Timmy begins to discover that waiting isn't always easy, but sometimes it can make the best moments even better. Filled with humor, heart, and relatable family moments, Do I Have to Wait on My Birthday is a charming picture book that helps young readers learn about patience, self-control, listening, making good choices, and understanding that some things really are worth waiting for. Perfect for children ages 4 to 8. Do I Have to Wait on My Birthday is a wonderful read-aloud for parents, grandparents, teachers, librarians, and caregivers, as well as a fun way to start meaningful conversations about growing up and handling big emotions. Do I Have to Wait on My Birthday? A Timmy story by Justin DeSantos is available now on Amazon. To follow the author and discover future books in the Timmy series, visit justindesantos.com.
All right, we're back. I'm Brian. Thanks for tuning in. So this was Rick Leventhal. He's over on Newsmax 2. Remember him? He used to be on Fox for a long time, talking about this lunatic murderer. Look at it. No emotion. Mm.
her mental state.
Well, this is what's interesting. In Massachusetts law, it actually states that if an individual is not capable of understanding the crime, they're not going to be held guilty. And this is what the defense is doing.
Mm.
Right or wrong, they're actually creating a case where experts are going to start battling whether psychosis actually led Clancy to kill her children.
See, here's my thoughts. If she did have a psychosis, I don't care. She's guilty, right? I mean, is there any scenario? Think about this now. Is there any scenario in your mind, right, where no matter what situation a woman is in, it's okay for her to do this? There was another case. This blew my mind. By the way, welcome. If you're new to the program, make sure you subscribe. This really, let me pull this story up. This was, I just saw this today, and it's starting to circulate because of this going on. This girl here did a very similar thing with her newborn baby, right? And here she is in court confessing. Her name is Lincoln Snelling. She's 22 years old.
Under a lot of emotional distress, and my baby came unexpectedly. And my son, and afterwards I cleaned up and didn't tell him.
So tell me, when you say instead of helping him, you did what?
I ended his life.
How did you end his life?
I deprived him of oxygen.
I deprived him of oxygen. Oh my.
And did you tell me about this tampering with physical evidence? What did you do with the evidence that could have been collected?
I put the towels in a plastic bag.
Okay. And what about this concealing the birth?
I didn't tell anyone after.
Okay. All righty. So are you pleading guilty today of your own free will without any threats, pressures, or promises from any?
Okay, now she's obviously highly stressed. Does she get a free pass too? Or is it only because Lindsay Clancy is somehow popular because she had a rotten husband? A lot of people have rotten husbands. You know what you do? You leave them. That's it. You leave them. You go to your parents' house. You go to the lawyer and have him pay for your divorce lawyer. And there's been many stories like this girl here who killed her. Oh, the pregnancy, the birth happened unexpectedly. So she deprived her baby of oxygen, she said. Well, think about it. If she would have done that a few minutes earlier in Massachusetts under that new law, it would have been okay. So, and this goes into what I was talking about earlier with the dehumanizing of children that the left have been doing for over 50 years since, well, actually before Roe v. Wade, because that's when it kind of, in 1973, that kind of when it hit ahead. They were advocating for abortion for years before that. But I guess we'll add on. So for 60 years or so, women have been dehumanizing children. And what the left have been saying is if the child is an inconvenience to you for any reason whatsoever, it is your right to have an abortion because it's inconvenient to you, like this girl here, Lincoln, right? This death cult of the left isn't limited to children. This just reminds me of Lincoln Riley. Remember when President Trump mentioned the Lincoln Riley Act at the State of the Union, and he introduced in the gallery Lincoln Riley's mother, and who was killed by an illegal alien who was trying to rape her. And the Democrats wouldn't stand up for Lincoln Riley's mother, right? Remember that? That's how they are, right? The left have a whole bunch of people and types of people and groups of people that they think it's okay to kill them. And they have another group of people that they think it's all right for them to kill, right? Illegals, mothers, people like that.
Just wanted to support Lindsay and just say it could be, one of my sister-in-laws, it could be one of
Yeah, scumbag.
Aware of this support, and what does she think of this support? What do you think?
Yeah, her kids are dead.
Tell her we love her. The crowd of about 200 to 300 people lined the road as Lindsay Clancy was brought into the courthouse.
I hope when this is all over that the medical field gets held responsible for some of this, because she tried desperately to get help, and it wasn't there. Whether she's guilty, innocent, it doesn't really matter. 3 lives are gone, and so
It doesn't matter.
that's all.
Yeah, well, we know the truth because she confessed the truth. You know, those of you out there that are on the left, I mean, you know, when you look at the left in this country, and it's not just in this country, it's in every country where there's liberals, it's all the same thing with the left, right? You know, the left, there's not a single issue that the left are not on the side of evil and death. I mean, think about this. All these people out there that are acting as if, you know, they're the defenders of women. You know, when President Trump shut down the southern border and has done this mass deportation, do you know how many women have not been victimized through sexual assault and murder in the last year and a half? A lot. There hasn't been a single illegal crossing in about 16 months, the president said yesterday. You know, and if you want to look at who's defending women, you look no further than Donald Trump. He's the one that's out there defending women, not Democrats, not even women. You know, you see this a lot, you know, with liberals. Liberals all the time, they'll be in a particular group and they're advocating towards helping that group. You know, like as an example, here in Florida where I live, and I'm sure there's versions of this in whatever state you're in. You know, this Lincoln girl that killed her baby, right? That pled guilty that I played. They have a law here in Florida, and I know they have this elsewhere, where a woman like that has a baby and they're scared and all of that, you can take the baby to a police station, a fire station, or an emergency room, and without any questions asked, drop them off, and they'll take care of that baby, right? You know, and I know the firehouse by my house, they have a big sign out in front of the firehouse with a baby drop-off spot, or whatever they call it. In the United States, there is no reason for anyone who has a child who's in a situation of any kind where they cannot find help for that child. You know, if you know, their claim is, and there's been a theme with these clips of these lunatic women that I played. They've had a theme that, you know, she was seeking help and she was stressed and she couldn't help the kids and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. If things were that bad in her life and in her marriage, she could have put those kids in the car or even called the police. They would have come and they would have taken those children to a place that was safe, and she would have been given treatment. The reason, if she truly has this postpartum, whatever the heck they're calling this excuse of murdering her 3 babies, if she really had something like that, okay, she didn't receive treatment because no one would treat her. She didn't seek it out. She could have called 911, told them the situation. They would have taken the kids to a safe place and taken her to the hospital, and she would have gotten treated. These are all excuses. And these women that are out there in front of the courthouse or making the TikTok videos, the ones you're seeing all over X, you know, Candace Owens is different. What Candace Owens is doing is just clout chasing, right? This is a big case that's out there. So she's coming out, even though she's 7-8 months pregnant, right? Candace Owens is coming out and defending this woman because she saw these videos that we've all seen, and she's like, wow, there's hundreds of thousands, millions of women out there that support this killer. Let me go out there and defend her and maybe I can bring these people into watching my podcast. That's what Candace Owens is doing. Okay, Candace Owens, if taking the position against her would bring her a trending audience, she'd take the position. She has no convictions. She's just trying to get more likes, watches, and clicks and all that business. So I wouldn't pay much attention to what Candace Owens is saying, okay? Because that's what that's all about. But the women that are at the courthouse or making the TikTok videos, they're true believers. And with these women fit a few different types. Most of them have probably either had an abortion or took their child to have an abortion. High percentage of them, especially because this is in New England, right? Very liberal. So they've either had abortions or taken a child to have an abortion. So they cope with that to try to make them feel like they're heroines that did something right, okay, by doing this. That's one group. And then a lot of them out there are just man-haters, right? Like the one woman I played, that was the clip I played where she was screaming that men are all these things. She obviously is gay. She's got issues. Some of these women have had bad marriages, been in bad relationships, and they hate men, you know. And what they do is they take an issue like this and like, well, you know, women are victimized by men, even though the husband took good care of her, made sure she went to the doctor, had her nanny, and you know, and all this business. But very few women have nannies. She had a nanny. There was no excuse, right? You know, but men are still bad because they've been in a bad relationship. They've been abused in their mind. You know, so their hostility towards men, they're channeling into this death cult that they have out in front of that courthouse. And I got to tell you, it is sick, it is twisted, and it is disgusting. Now, if you're new to my program, my name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe if you are new to the program. And everyone that's watching on YouTube, please do me the favor of liking the video. When you like the video, it gets the video recommended to people that have not yet found my program. And if you're listening on one of the podcast platforms, make sure you follow and subscribe wherever you are listening. I'll take a quick break and be back with more.
phone, Velaya AI analyzes your skin and hair in seconds, providing personalized recommendations for acne, hydration, wrinkles, pigmentation, dryness, hair health, and that's just the beginning. Using advanced artificial intelligence, Velaya AI creates customized morning and evening routines, recommends products tailored to your needs, and even adjusts your care based on the weather, UV index, and seasonal conditions. What are you waiting for? Download Velaya AI right now in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store and discover a smarter, more personalized approach to skin and hair care. Learn more and see how Velaya works online at mytach.ca. That's mytach.ca. Velaya AI, healthy skin and hair powered by artificial intelligence.
All right, welcome back, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. This is Where MAGA Comes to Talk. Thanks, everyone, for joining. And this is the letter from Natalie Harp to the President of the United States, the greatest president, our favorite president, the 45th and 47th president, and that's Donald Trump. Now, the New York Times, their fake news journalist over there, who was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for the Russia hoax story. I can't believe they haven't taken that prize back. They had portrayed this as a love letter, and this is the letter, and I'm going to read it to you. All right, this letter is not a love letter. Okay, Natalie Harp. It's a letter from a young girl that she wrote to her boss, who she thought was going to fire her, and she's pretty much begging not to be fired. All right. And first of all, how many love letters are typed? Right? Any of you seen a love letter that's typed? Love letters are handwritten, and so few people write letters these days. But you know, this letter to the president from Natalie Harp is anything but a love letter. Okay, so I'm going to read through it now. And when I read through this, I think you'll hear the same thing. It's really technical, and I'll get right to it. Listen to this. This is the actual letter that Natalie Harp wrote to President Trump. Dear Mr. President, I'm sorry. I thought I was the only one left behind last night and had no idea Margot's car was also pulled over and sent back to the airport. Since I was alone in the van outside customs without my passport, I panicked and should have just called Secret Service instead of you. Okay, so obviously there was some mess up on this trip, and as she said, she panicked and she called the president directly, which she's probably not supposed to do for something like this. So she's apologizing for that. I am also sorry if I was an embarrassment walking the course in Scotland. The first day, I was told there were no carts, and people walked, which is why I walked. The second day, I was specifically asked by, I forgot who his name was, but one of the main people who worked there, if I could continue walking, and tell any other girls who would head out there to do the same, to spare the course any more carts. If there is anything else I have done to cause you trouble, please forgive me. I know that some people have said I haven't been texting them back, and there have been some international cell issues. John was having technical issues on the plane too, so asked me to help him out. Okay, now that's the first half. I'll get to the second half. So, you know, she's obviously caused some problems. You know, what her job is, she's the personal assistant, like a secretary to the president. And instead of taking shorthand, they don't do that anymore. She sends his text messages, answers his text messages, and puts his post in the Truth Social. Okay, then back to the letter. Again, a typed letter. I want things to always be right between us. I also know I've been distracted all week, forgetting to eat throughout the days, and even forgetting to sleep, and only catching a couple hours at a time. I haven't been myself, dwelling on the past and the pain of losing my dad, and I started letting the remarks of people who haven't bothered me before get to me. Not because I care what others think, but because I see myself being lowered in your eyes and good opinion. That is the fear, you see, because I never want to bring you anything but joy. I'm sorry I lost my focus. You are all that matters to me. I don't want to ever let you down. Thank you for being my guardian and protector in this life. That's what I wanted to use this card for when you saw me at the cash register. And once again, did what you didn't have to do and gifted me with memories of this trip of a lifetime, a coming of age. I will return to a better person. I have to sign off now as the cars are leaving. See you soon. With all my heart, Natalie. Now, do you see a love letter there? I see anything but a love letter. I see the opposite of a love letter. Now, I know a lot of you have been calling. I haven't taken any calls. And the reason I haven't taken any calls, and I'm going to take care of it now, I was at the radio station this morning, and I forwarded the phone lines to the radio station, and I didn't forward them back to my studio here. So all of you that have been calling, let me check how many people have been calling. Let me check here. Hold on. Let me see here. Well, I had a lot to cover, and I wasn't... oh, man. Holy smokes. A lot of you have been calling. I apologize. Well, tomorrow morning I'll be back taking calls. I didn't train back to my studio from the radio station. So those of you that have been calling, it's because of people have been calling and calling and calling. I don't know, the board up radio stations, probably the phones, they're probably answering the phones like, what's going on? What's going on? But I forgot to switch the phones back to my studio, so that's why you haven't gotten through to me. But I will be live tomorrow morning, and you can call me then tomorrow morning, okay? But this letter is anything but a love letter. She obviously felt like she was going to get fired, and like all MAGA people, she admires President Trump, and it would destroy her to be fired by the leader of our great movement, President Trump. Yeah, I mean, when you're in the MAGA movement, you want the approval of everyone who's MAGA wants the approval of President Trump, okay? And you don't want his disapproval. That would be devastating. And people who are MAGA, see, the people that are not MAGA don't understand. And I'll take you to Butler as an example, right? Butler, Pennsylvania, as an example. When President Trump was shot in Butler by that never-Trumper, what the crowd did was something I've never seen happen. That was a mass shooting event. The president was shot. People in the crowd were shot. And the people that were in the crowd, both in the front of the stage and behind the stage, did something I've never seen people do in a mass shooting event. And you know what that is? They didn't run. When there's a mass shooting event, people run. The people stayed at Butler. And do you know why they stayed? Why do you think they stayed? There were people behind the president. There were people in front of him. Everyone knew what happened. Why didn't they run? It's pretty simple. Because MAGA people all love the president, and they were there for a couple of things. Of course, they wanted to make sure he was okay. But the main reason that the people didn't run was this, and stayed there, is they wanted to stand there to defend him because they didn't know what was happening. And if somebody would have run in there, or a bunch of people would have run in there to do harm, that crowd would have jumped them, like Beamer and the rest on Flight 93 on 9/11. They stayed there because they love the president and they wanted to protect him. So all MAGA people love President Trump, right? They do. And this is, that may seem weird to some of you that are not never Trumpers, but all MAGA people love President Trump like a father figure, like Natalie Harp. And all MAGA people want his approval and do not want his disapproval because that would be devastating to them, right? And that's that. And, one of the things I was talking about on the show this morning, and you see it time and time again with everything that's going on in the media. This week, the media have had several manufactured stories all of which have fallen flat, right? They're in a desperate mode of trying to, and they're desperate to get false narratives going. With the first one was, it started last weekend and continued till Monday, and that was that the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln did not have food and the sailors were starving, right? That story's been gone. I haven't seen any updates on that story in 2 or 3 days. None. Because it's fake news. So they dropped it. So then they started with this Ossoff crap, with this Natalie Harp story. All right? This is, that's going nowhere. That's fallen flat. Everything the liberals do, and the fake news media and the Democrats do, what they all try to do is get false narratives going. And they repeat them enough, and they think people will believe them. And liberals that hate Trump, hate Republicans, hate MAGA, they will believe it because they want to believe it, even when it's not true. Like this letter right here is a technical letter. It is typed. It is not a love letter. But even though I'm showing it to you here on the screen on YouTube, and those of you listening to the podcast on other platforms, you heard me read it, people that hate Trump, hate MAGA, that suffer from Trump derangement syndrome, they will hear a love letter because they want to hear the love letter. Liberals are into manifestation. And what that manifestation is, they're trying to make wishful thinking sound like it's sophisticated, right? Manifestation is wishful thinking. Remember that thing, The Secret, like 15, 20 years ago? That was manifestation. If you wish it, it will become true, right? So if we say it enough and over, some magical Trump derangement syndrome genie will do something, and boom, it will become true. That's what, and liberals are very much into manifestation. And I want to tell you this. When you see them move off a story so quick, and there'll be more next week, and there'll be more the week after that, because, they're desperate. The Democrats are desperate. They had a devastating loss in the primaries. I mean, think about that. In a primary, in fact, this primary this week was the first primary, this whole primary season is the first time I've seen people lose primaries. And let me explain what I mean by that. Maybe I should keep the phones off more, right? I mean, there's been a lot of calls. I'm gonna get a call from the radio station. I've got my phone on Do Not Disturb. I don't know if they call. I'm gonna get a call from the radio. They're like, "What's going on, bro?" Oh my goodness. I'll have the phones forwarded for the live stream tomorrow morning, guys. Okay, in my studio, so you can call me tomorrow morning and get this stuff off your chest. But I'm kind of liking this with the phones off. Well, they're not off. They're ringing at the radio station. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I've done that. I've been on the radio once or twice over the years and forgot to switch the phones to the radio station, and I didn't realize till I was like 2.5 hours into the show. I'm like, what's going on? It happens. Who cares? But the Democrats, so how do you lose in a primaries, right? Because primaries, for the most part, they're closed, right? You don't have open primaries. The only people that can run in the primaries are people for that party, mostly. So, how do you lose primaries? Well, we've just seen it during this whole primary season. President Trump has gotten rid of rhinos. He has gotten incumbent members of the United States Senate and House of Representatives in the Republican Party. He's gotten them out of the Congress, and they lost their primaries. That is more humiliating than you can realize. It's one thing if you lose the general election. When you lose the primary, have any of you ever been dumped by somebody in your life? It's crushing, right? Because you're being rejected by your own party, right? So President Trump, for the first time, we've seen major Republican establishment uniparty losses, in a Republican primary because President Trump has purged so many of these rhinos out, right? The Democrats, they lost big time too because these Democrat socialists have been unseating them. You know, this idiot, Angie Nixon, she's the Democrat socialist who won the Democrat primary for Senate here in Florida, okay, defeating Colonel Vindman that got Trump impeached in his first term. Remember that with the Zelensky call? And if you see of her talking, I played some of the clips on the show this week, she's the dumbest Democrat socialist out there. And that's saying a lot because there's a lot of dumb Democrat socialists like AOC and others. She makes AOC look like Victor Davis Hanson, okay? She's that dumb. You know what I mean? I mean, it's pretty good when you see her talk. It's hilarious because you know they're going to get creamed. And what she's becoming is the face of Democrat socialism. So the Democrats are just getting creamed all over the place because of these socialists. Byron Donalds, who won as governor of Florida, right? The Democrats are in a panic about that. He's on fire, okay, since he won the other night. He's going to be president or vice president one day. He's very, very good. And one of the other false narratives that the Democrats had tried to get going this week was that Trump has had all these losses, that all these people he endorsed lost. Well, on Tuesday, in the primaries, President Trump lost 3 primary endorsements around the country. 3. One of them was that scumbag here in Florida that he told to drop out of the race. But he lost 3 endorsements, didn't win. 2 in Florida and 1 in Wyoming. He had at least 26 endorsed victories Tuesday night. 26 endorsed victories, 3 losses. I don't know what the percentage is on that, but it's pretty darn good. And he has a higher endorsement victory rate than any other president of either party in history throughout this entire primary season. Right? So, and they were trying to turn that into a loss. Oh, he lost. He lost, in 3 races. Yeah, 3 out of 29. And he won 26. See, and that goes in the manifestation I was telling you about, right? The wishful thinking. They were trying to portray Trump as a loser on primary night. There's never been a president of either party who was as victorious on a primary night as this president was. You know, a lot of these endorsements are risky endorsements. And they only win because he endorses them. Now, I've really got my fingers crossed, and I hope you guys do too, is for Darlene Graham to win this runoff race for the United States Senate. The president has a rally for her tonight, and I'm going to watch it, and it's going to be good. And it's important. You know, Darlene Graham, they're going around trying to quiz her on things that she doesn't have answers for, and they're trying to say she's not competent. Let me tell you, you don't have to be, not that she's not a smart person, but politics is not her profession, right? It was her brother's profession. She's in it now, but, And these quizzes, they did that with GW in his first campaign. He went on to win. Remember that? He did an interview and they asked him who the heads of state were for these obscure countries that nobody heard of. Remember that? When President Bush, G.W. Bush ran the first time in that 2000 race. But anyway, remember that? The quizzes, they were giving him quizzes, and now they're giving Darlene Graham quizzes. Do you know what senators and members of the House of Representatives do? Do you know what they do? Nothing. They vote. This is all they do. There's a bill up. None of them read the bills, okay? All they do is push a button that's in front of them. Well, in the Senate, they do it out loud a lot, I guess, but they vote. All they do is yay, nay, or present. Yay, nay, or present. That's all they do. Being in the Senate is really a job, and the House of Representatives is for people that have no job skills. Yay, nay, or president. That's all they do. And all we need, and Darlene Graham, you know, if she wins this runoff, and I hope that she does, there's no way to really know because, you know, the rhinos are up to their dirty tricks. But this is all you need to know about Darlene Graham. When that Save America Act comes up for a vote, when the new Congress comes in January, she's going to vote yay. And it's going to pass. And anytime President Trump sends legislation to the Congress, gets legislation through that's in the Senate, Darlene Graham isn't going to be an obstructionist like John Thune and these rhinos. She's going to vote yay on whatever the president wants her to vote yay on, and nay on whatever the president wants her to vote nay on. And that's what we want. We don't want some guy who knows where the South China Sea is and can find Taiwan on an unlabeled map. Who cares about Taiwan? They're always asking about Taiwan. Who cares? I care about this country and the Save America Act, because when the Save America Act is passed, 90% of the problems we have in this country will be over. 90%. Because what the Democrats are heavily overrepresented at every level of government. The Congress, the governors, everything. Local, state, county, everything. They're overrepresented because we don't have the Save America Act. Think about this. If the Save America Act were in place, right? If it had already been in place, Spencer Pratt would be in November the mayor of Los Angeles. Think about that. And he's not going to be the mayor of Los Angeles in November because we do not have the Save America Act. And Darlene Graham will do the right thing every time the president tells her to. And her brother's last conversation before he died with the president was right before he died was, I still can't believe Lindsey Graham's not with us anymore. I guess it hasn't sunk in yet. I'm in that denial. It just doesn't, I can't believe he's gone. Tell you what I sent you. Oh, my wife just sent me something. Okay, she's in the other room. Okay, hold on. Okay, here, let me pull this up. Okay. Yes, that was my wife in the other room, if you were wondering. All right, let me pull this up. Let's see here. This is the president. Okay, Caroline Leavitt is still with him. Here he is. Yeah. Well, President Trump is really going out there. He's going out there and rallying for her. I mean, so he's putting everything on the line. He's hardcore. And this is what you got to understand, okay? This is what you've got to understand. All right? In the MAGA movement, that's our leader right there, Donald Trump. And as a voter, just like with the senators, like we want Darlene Graham to do, you vote for whoever and whatever President Trump tells you to vote for. That's what you do. Whatever it is, you do it. Now, here he is. Now, Caroline Leavitt, this is right off of Air Force One on the tarmac. There's Caroline Leavitt, and he's going to talk about her replacement. Who's Margot? Does anybody know who Margot is? Do you know who Margot is? Somebody just standing there. Yeah, does anyone know who Margot is? I don't know who Margot is. Do you? I don't know. I'm sure we'll know soon because it's going to tell. Now, you know, and here's one of the other things that has the left freaking out. Okay, you know, Florida is to Republicans what California is to the Democrats, right? It's very important. It's a very big state. I always tell people Florida is much bigger than people realize. It is a huge state. We're the reddest state in America, but it wasn't always that way. You know, when I was growing up, we had all Democrat governors in Florida, and we had a couple Democrat senators we just could not get rid of. We finally did, Bill Nelson, but it was not easy, you know, and Democrats were very entrenched. And if you go back into the presidential elections, Florida has historically been a Democrat state and then a swing state. And President Trump's first, and by the way, let me know in the comments how you like this when I don't have the phones on. Like I said, I forwarded the phones to the radio station this morning because I was broadcasting from there today. And when I do that, usually I switch them back before I podcast, and I didn't. And I kind of like it. I kind of like it. Gives me a break. I'll take calls tomorrow morning stream. I promise, guys. But if you remember on election night, in Trump's first election, when Florida came in, we have 67 counties in the state of Florida. Every county had come in except Broward County, which is the heavy Democrat machine, and they were waiting on Broward County, and then it was just too heavy. And since then, we've been getting redder and redder and redder. And look at this. CNN did a story today. Let me pull this up for you. This is amazing.
Look at this. Back in 2016, Democrats had a 3-point edge in party registration over Republicans. By the time of the 2024 election, look at that. It was an 8-point edge for Republicans. You think that's high? Now it's an 11-point edge for the Republican Party. Republicans have gained in a state that Democrats were hoping to make competitive in the 21st century, become more Democratic. In fact, the exact inverse has occurred. It has become considerably more Republican, and Republicans, simply put, have been winning all of the statewide races, the major statewide races. They haven't even elected a Democratic governor since, what, 1994 in Lawton Childs? My goodness gracious. Walking Lawton Childs there. Nice reference.
Yeah, Lawton Child. We have had Republican governors and Republican control in the legislature since 1998, 28 years, going on 30 years. And this is astounding. And, you know, still, senior citizens still retire to Florida, right? They still come down here, but they're no longer Democrats. You know, seniors used to be Democrats. They're Republicans now.
There is a congressional delegation also becoming more Republican through redistricting, but also through these shifts. Through these shifts as well, right? There was a Florida redistricting. The states becoming more Republican. Democrats are doing well in a lot of other states, but not in Florida. Look at this. It's not just the U.S. Senate race. How about U.S. House seats in Florida? 2 to 3 seats pickups are possible this November. So we're seeing it in the federal elections at the top, and we're also seeing it down in the U.S. House of Representatives. It is a state that is moving to the right, despite a lot of Democrats believing that the diversification would lead it to the left. One of the most important things to point out is this just isn't a now thing. This has potential implications.
Yep.
Florida turning more red has potential implications going forward. Yeah. One thing you don't want is to be losing ground in a state that is gaining population. And you're talking about, you know, look at the
Yeah.
electoral votes back in 1990s, right? The last time that was when Democrats.
See this? Now see our population's growing.
There was 25, and 27 by the 2000s, 29 by the 2010s, 30 by the 2020s, and then the 2030 outlook is for more population, 32 electoral votes, and it's now solidly in the Republican camp, at least for now.
Okay, see now this thing here, the Electoral College, the way that works is after the census, when they reallocate, you know, the congressional districts, some states gain, some lose. You have, this is astounding, okay? This has implications beyond the way the Electoral College works. However many House seats your state has, you have that many electors in the Electoral College, right? So in the 2030s, Florida is going to have not just 32 electors at the Electoral College, we're going to have 32 members of the House of Representatives. And there's only 435 people in the House. You see, the whole, and imagine what it's going to be like when the Save America Act is passed. Because there's a lot of places around the country that are either Republican or a lot more Republican than you're led to believe because the Save America Act isn't out there. The Democrats know the party's over, right? The party is over. And that's why this Darlene Graham race is so important. Now, if you'd like to support my channel, my content, my podcast, radio show, YouTube channel, everything I do, become a Patreon supporter, guys. And there's a link in the description of the episode to my Patreon page. And when you become a Patreon supporter, you get access to a lot of exclusive content, including, but not limited to, because there's a lot there, commercial-free editions of all my podcast episodes, as well as the exclusive Patreon-only live streams, which I do every day. And on those live streams, I talk about a lot of issues and topics that I cannot talk about here or anywhere else. And it's a great community. There are no trolls. The Patreon live stream is like here on YouTube with a live chat. It's a great community. There are no trolls. And we have a lot of great conversations about a lot of great topics, okay? There's a link in the description. Now, when you go to the Patreon page, there's an option to become a free Patreon supporter. If you do that, you do not have access to any of the content. You have to be a paying Patreon supporter to have access to the content. That starts at just $5 a month, okay? And not only do you get access to the future live streams and all the future content, you get access to the entire back catalog, which goes back years because I've had a Patreon group for many, many years. If you become a top Patreon supporter, you get your name up on the screen on YouTube and a live on-air thank you shout-out on every podcast episode. So these names you're going to hear now are my top Patreon supporters. I want to thank SFjr, Christine, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Doris, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, Tina, David, Laura, Rob, Wes, Sue, Janice, Teresa, Irene, Rick, Michael, and Robert R. These are my top Patreon supporters. Thank you so much, guys, for your support. Again, those of you that are new, welcome. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe. I am live every morning of the week and weekends, as well as most afternoons. And everyone, if you could please like the video on YouTube before you go, that really helps grow the channel a lot. So please like the video. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I will see you